What's up, guys? This is Trav back again with another episode of TravTalks. Today I'm talking with Aaron DeWyer. What is up, Aaron?
Not much, Trav. How are you doing?
I feel like you just took a drink and you had to like sneak in. You had to sneak in, like you were like delay. How you doing? Like coming out of like a big breath. Yeah, I'm talking to Aaron today about Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Aaron, it's here, man.
I feel like we've been here before.
Yeah, it's deja.
I feel like we've done this before.
It's deja vu, man. Like, okay, so just to let the audience know, before King of the Monsters came out, me and Aaron did actually do kind of like a trailer kind of discussion. It kind of just turned into more of just predictions and talking about Godzilla, King of the Monsters coming out, and that was maybe it was a month or two ago. I don't know. It's time has flown, and we're here past May 31st. And you saw the movie. When did you see the movie? It was like the 30th or...
Yeah, I think I saw it on the 30th.
And like I saw it the Friday night on May 31st, and I've seen it a few times since then, and so has Aaron, so I think we're just kind of... I think we have enough of like processing it to be able to discuss this, and I feel like it's kind of a perfect time to... discuss it, but before we go into the movie, like, let's just talk about you. Like,
all right, cool.
Let's make it all about you today. You are an artist, and
that's what they say anyway.
Like, do you consider yourself an artist? Like, actually, the word?
Yeah, I mean, considering that I want it to be a profession, yeah, I guess I would call myself an artist.
I mean, this dude, like, draws, like, every day. I would say that you're an artist if you work on that much all of the time. But, yeah, so one thing that I've always respected about Aaron ever since I'll go into, like, how we met. I think it was literally, I saw I don't know which print I saw first, but I saw something on Twitter because I honestly think it's because of D-Man, because I've been following D-Man on Twitter forever. I've been subscribed to him. If you guys don't know who D-Man is, D-Man 1954, he's a Godzilla channel, and like he kind of took up the mantle after Goji Fan 93. And by the way, I don't know if you saw, but they actually happened to watch the movie together. It was like weird.
Yeah?
Like Chris showed up at D-Man's theater. And he even explained, I have no idea why. He was just there. So it's like really,
That's
really
awesome.
So it's kind of like we'll call them the two Godzilla titans on social media, like and YouTube got to actually watch the movie together, and I just think that's awesome. But anyway, so I've been following D-Man and subscribed to his channel forever, and he's literally where I get most of my Godzilla news, because like I'm just one of those people, like I don't read a whole lot of stuff. I like to just watch and listen to somebody. So, and I don't know if you're the same way, but like I follow D-Man on Twitter, and I think that kind of exposes me to all of the like people that are sharing Godzilla content and stuff on Twitter. So I saw your Godzilla vs. Kong, and I'm just going to bring up on screen, I'm just going to bring up some of Aaron's art. It's absolutely amazing, and I think like honestly probably some of the best work I've ever seen, like ever, when it comes to like Godzilla and stuff, like and other stuff, because like I think you've drawn some Star Wars, right? Like a little bit.
Yeah.
So I ran into your art piece, and I think I just tweeted out to you. I was like, man, I would love like a big poster of this, and you're like, I can make that happen. And then we just started talking, and like we both love Godzilla, but yeah, you've been like into just drawing Godzilla for like forever, and I'm kind of curious as to how long. Like I guess just like I would assume as soon as you could draw, basically you were trying to draw him, or
yeah, I mean it was just basically as soon as I had a book that some of you guys may remember this. It was called the Official Godzilla Compendium, and it came out around the same time that 98 released. And in the back of it, Art Adams did all the monster sketches in the back. So he drew out like King Kong, Anguirus, all of them. And I just loved that book so much. And I would take it everywhere with me, and I would try to recreate the images in the back of the book with the monsters. And like I just kept drawing Godzilla, and It's pretty much like all I did for a long time. And then, I tried doing like, started doing like humans and stuff like that and getting more into comic book art. But like Godzilla always has a special place, in my heart to draw. Any chance I
Very
get to
big
draw
place.
him,
No
I'll do
pun
it. Oh,
intended.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we tried to record this, not this review, but we did record a Godzilla episode of the show, and I forgot what happened. It was like some audio issues. Aaron couldn't send me his piece of audio and like all this stuff, and like it turned into something. But I feel like that it's just best that it turned out the way it did, because as much as I would like to have had that episode, like just reviewing the movie is actually what I was most looking forward to doing with you, because I know
Yeah.
that you're like just as passionate about the franchise as me, if not more, and like, and we both kind of grew up with it and everything, and like, and we've just been kind of nerding out, texting back and forth, like, oh, this part, this whatever, or like just, but we haven't really dived into this film like full conversation, so I think that'll be a good chance to. But check out Aaron DeWyer on Twitter, and all of that. Like, check out some of his art. If you're a Godzilla fan, definitely hit him up and give him a follow and look at some of his stuff and see if you want to maybe purchase something.
I just posted that Mothra and that I'm not gonna say the name of it because it was spoilerish, but but I posted that one monster, and like I just looked and it's like at 400 likes and like 250 retweets, and then the
Jeez.
Mothra that I did is like at 300 and like 200 retweets. I'm like, why? I'm like, those aren't even.
Why?
I'm like, those aren't even like completed pieces, and yet people are like foaming at the mouth over
Dude,
them.
sometimes those partial pieces without the color and everything is some of the most things that like I gravitate towards, like, because it's just, you have like the monster, and that's like all you really need.
Oh yeah.
Like those are such simple pieces. But yeah, so yeah, let's dive into this movie, dude. Like, 5 years. We've been waiting 5+ years. I have said like Godzilla 2014 5 years ago, but even before that, I've always wanted a kind of remake, as you could say, of Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. Like in any sort of way. Let alone did I think like, oh, there's gonna be like other monsters involved. Like, cause what I thought was probably gonna take place is like, we'd get like Godzilla versus Kong or something like that first, and then maybe like Godzilla 3 would be like King Ghidorah, or but after 2014 came out, they announced it. Like, I remember right after, it was like immediately they said it's gonna be Mothra, Rodan, and King Ghidorah, and my first thought was like, oh crap. Like,
Yeah.
my first thought was, how are they going to balance all of these monsters? Is it gonna be like, what's a movie recently that has came out with too many characters? Like, is it gonna be like, I don't know,
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
That's Amazing Spider-Man 2, too many characters.
Spider-Man 3.
I like Batman v Superman better, but it still is kind of too much going on in the movie. Like, I don't know, like, how are they going to balance it? And we're here. We've heard a lot. We've I've looked up so many, right before the movie came out, I just, like, watched Michael Dougherty just talk about it, and even Aaron texted me some stuff, like, about, like, I remember you texted me, about King Ghidorah, like, him trying to perfect the design and everything, making tweaks, like, because they wanted, like, this other design. I think even at one time they may have tried to give him arms. I'm not really sure, and then...
Yeah, I did a design once of King Ghidorah with arms, and it didn't look too weird, but the wyvern look definitely is his style.
Yeah, it's definitely... I feel like Ghidorah works just fine with just feet, because that's just, like... I don't know, the closer you can get to, like, the classic design, I think the better, but still kind of I call it just remastering it.
Definitely.
Because this Ghidorah design, by the way... Okay, you know what? We're kind of transitioning into Ghidorah, so let's just, like, first talk about him. Ugh. I can't even... Dude, the freaking Antarctica scene, or him breaking out, like... I think the first time I was so overwhelmed by everything, and I think you said the same thing, where it's just like you're just seeing this, you're welling up, you're just kind of feeling emotional, even just seeing this character done this way and with such like love. Like I just love this design so much. I can't even like. I think it might honestly be my favorite King Ghidorah now, just like character wise and design, just because it just has like these like smog vibes meets
There's so
like
much personality to him.
yeah, so much personality. Like one of the head, like there's so many there's so many like funny memes now about the right head or being
With
like so derpy.
The hyenas from The Lion King like sum it up perfectly.
Yeah, kind of. I know when you really think about it, because I think there was three hyenas, so that kind of makes sense. Yeah, like, dude, that scene, by the way, where he like just stops to lick the ground, and then the other one has to pull him back into the action. Like, stay focused. You could almost like hear what they would be saying to each other. Like it's so, but it doesn't take it so far where it's like silly. Because I feel like with Godzilla movies, you kind of have to accept a certain level of like, okay, there's gonna be, even in the most serious movies, there's gonna be a slight campiness that you just kind of have to accept, and like, and him, the middle head pulling the other head back into the action was just like, just that moment adds so much, because they could have just been like, oh, all the heads look the same, you know, and all the stuff, but the three actors that play the three heads, like, just the fact that they got three actors for it, like, just, that blows my mind. Like, that's something I never would have thought of them doing, and I'm actually really surprised they didn't let, like, Andy Serkis or somebody be the middle head.
I was gonna say like yeah, the left head. Have you heard what they've dubbed him?
Well, what do you mean?
Like they call him Kevin.
Oh,
is
God.
his name. So I don't know if I sent it to you, but I made a meme where I put the left head on Kevin Malone from The Office, and I took his quote about like why use lot word, and I made it say why waste time fight Godzilla when two head do trick, and it was just the left head, and I was like, this is Kevin. This is exactly Kevin.
It really is. Like, I was so blown away by that, but like on a very, very good way. Like, I was just shocked of how much personality he has, and also I think that King Ghidorah, without really any reason, needed to just be straight up like they make it known like that he is just straight up evil. Like,
oh yeah,
and I think that fits so well with their rivalry, because between Godzilla and Ghidorah, like, a lot of people don't know the like details that only nerds like me and you would know of, like, well, and they mention it a little bit in the movies. There's always says like Godzilla and Ghidorah's rivalry was ancient. Like, that is so cool, the world building that they've done, where you don't see them fight and Ghidorah goes into the ice. You don't even get a flashback of that. That would have been cool. But like, you don't even get any of that, but you know it's there.
Yeah.
Like, you feel, because the look on Godzilla's face, like, and a lot of people have pointed this out whenever he shows up, I really think like the expression they were trying to give off was like, what? Like, you're alive still? Like, you know, like, you're here? Like, I can't believe it just kind of has this, like, I can't believe you're here face. Like, right when he shows up, it's like he can't believe what he's seeing. And just that in itself made the movie just, like, immediately good. Because so much personality, so much expression. They've given so much expression even on Godzilla's face that we haven't seen. Like, we didn't see, I mean, we saw a little bit of it in 2014, but not like this. Like,
No,
I feel like
every
really
monster every monster had their own personality, which I thought was awesome. Like,
yeah,
because you're making the monsters relatable in a way, like not relatable to
like
humans,
like they should be.
Exactly. And all the old classics, Godzilla had a personality, Anguirus had a personality, Rodan had a personality. Like, even though they were animals, they still have personalities, and even animals in real life have personalities, and I liked how they did that.
Yeah, Doherty really knew what he was doing with that. I feel like it was something that he really brought to it, like, just that, like, hey, they've always had personalities.
Yeah, like in 2014, like they treated the monsters as a backdrop. Not that it was bad. Like you and I discussed, the scale of 2014 was huge. Like all the monsters really felt like gigantic. Yeah.
You felt the weight of every stomp.
Yeah, exactly. And like I understand what Michael was trying to do with this is, when you have a fight scene like that, you can't make them move slow like they would in real life. It would take 6 hours to do a whole fight scene between. Yeah. So whenever he did that run in the movie, I was like, well, yeah. I was like, he has to run. I was like, otherwise it would take them like 20 minutes to meet in the middle of the city.
I really, V-Man said it perfectly, and I think it opened my eyes a little bit more to it. Like, not that I was a doubter of the whole running thing, but him running and people being like, Godzilla shouldn't run that fast. It's like, look, listen, a giant elephant can run really, really fast. So don't give me the whole, like, big animal shouldn't be running this fast in a movie like this. Hello, look at an elephant and go watch a video of like elephants running. They are huge animals, but they can freaking haul it. And I'm sure it's the same thing with a giraffe, like, or something like that. Like, they can freaking haul it whenever they're in danger or whatever. They need to get the heck out of Dodge. They'll do it. Like, and I feel like that running scene at the end, and we'll get to the whole ending a little bit later, but whenever they collide in the trailer and in the movie, it's like it's like this. You see Godzilla's personality in that scene. Like, I'm here. I'm juiced up. Like, let's go. And his running just said, like, I'm going to kill you this time. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, I'm going to finish the job.
He was like, he was angry. He was after him. And it's like, I've had this rivalry for too long. Same thing with the Mutos. I feel like they did the same thing in 2014. Whenever you kind of feel the relief of, like, when he kills them, it's like, well, that's done, and now I can move on.
He can go back to sleep now
I can take my nap now.
For 5 years. Which, by the way, did you read the prequel comic, Aftershock?
I did not. I've got it, like, in my Amazon cart. Like, I just haven't ordered it yet.
Because me and my buddy, when we were sitting in the theater, and that woman on the news is like, the most well-known Titan, Godzilla, who hasn't been seen in 5 years, we both looked at each other, and I was like, that's a lie. I was like, there was a battle between then. I was like, so I don't know why they're saying no.
Yeah, but didn't Aftershock take place, like, somewhere? Was it in a city? Or...
No, he came up on land a few times to fight the Muto Prime.
Yeah, here's the thing. When it comes to, like, canon comics, I feel like movies don't always do a perfect job of, like, let's make sure that's tied in. I think it's more of, like, the comic itself is trying to make it canon. The movies usually don't try to do that. I pretty much know. I haven't read. I'm still gonna read Aftershock, like, but I pretty much know what happens, and I'm glad that they explain, like, because they could have done something as simple as, like, okay, we're gonna change Godzilla's design by making his spines bigger, like his fins bigger. Just not even explain it. But at least there's literally a comic that's like, it explains it. Like,
the comic will explain that.
It's perfect. I think that's perfect, where it's like, number one, my excuse was always, well, as for canon, like, I feel like it's just Godzilla's just growing. And I do think that he grew in feet in general. Between the movie. I'm not.
Yeah, I think it was 100%. Like, I want to say it was almost, because what was he? He was 355 feet.
350. Yeah.
Now he's like 392 or like 3. Yeah, he's closer to 400 feet now than he was in the 2014.
That's crazy. But
he's bigger than Shin.
Oh, snap. I thought that... You know what? That's just... every company is trying to... like, ever since Shin came out, everything is trying to be like... Okay, let's be the tallest. Okay, I want to be the tallest Godzilla. Okay, let's... it's like the same thing with the anime when that came out. It was like, oh, we're gonna make him so freaking and then, like, the anime just doesn't even, like, it's so much bigger than any Godzilla ever. Like, basically, what me and Aaron are agreeing on here is our little 5-year-old selves were very happy with what we're witnessing. Like, we'll talk about Ghidorah showing up like on the volcano and everything, but like we'll kind of, I think we'll mix that with like talking about Rodan, because every time I have seen it, I look so forward to Rodan coming out of the volcano.
Oh yeah.
Like, Rodan is my boy. Everyone that is like hating on this Rodan just I don't know what their problem is, because
I don't
like,
understand it.
I
Yeah.
don't like, I love Rodan in this movie, and he was already the underrated monster going into this movie. Like, and the first time I watched it, I literally whispered to Ryan, I was like, I forgot about Rodan, like, because he's literally about to come out, and I'm like, oh yeah, I cannot wait. Dude, every time I've seen that sequence, I love it that much more. Like the thunderclap thing that he does whenever he goes straight up in the air and like puts his wings to the side, and it's just like destroying these jets. Like, and the massive scale of him is like from the point of view of like I just call it the Super X ship, like flying towards the camera. Which, by the way,
yeah.
I think I don't know if everyone knows, but in the Heisei series, there's like this Super X weapon that is tries to kill Godzilla several times. I really think that was full blown, like trying to not really do that exactly, but basically the Super X of this universe, because it just looks so close to it. But Rodan coming out is probably, maybe it might, I don't think it's my favorite sequence, but it's like in my top 3 sequences of the film, because it's just like he's just destroying. And when she says like this one we call Rodan, the fire demon, I'm like, dude, he is the fire demon. Like,
well, something interesting happened today in my own town. Somebody said to me, they're like, they came up to my table and they're like, hey, you know that maquette of Rodan? I was like, yeah, the one that people were saying was fake. And he's like, yeah, that one. He's like, have you heard the theory that under the volcanic rock on Rodan that he uses as like shielding, that's what he looks like? He has that feathered and the scales and everything, but the volcanic rock has like formed to him like armor. And I was like, ooh, that's kind of cool. Like, and I dig the feathered wings. Like, yeah. like if in the next movie Rodan like sheds that off and he has the feathered wings, I would totally, like, if he goes fire Rodan, I would totally be okay with that.
Dude, like, that sounds amazing, and like, and it just adds so much like weight to something like that being real. It just adds more story to each character, because every character is kind of like, there's kind of this thing of like, you didn't see how they really got here. I mean, Godzilla we kind of have, but all the other ones, it's like you don't see how they got here, but you kind of, it's like you feel the weight of their story. And like, and Rodan, like, you know, I totally believe that, like, the volcano would just kind of, like, become, like, because he's been, no telling how long he's been in there, and I feel honestly, whenever he not hatches, but whenever he bursts out of there and spreads his wings, you kind of feel like, man, that'd be such a relief to get out of there, like, for a monster like him. And man, that shot too, when he's like looks at the camera like a bird, like he literally turns his head real quick, like it's like, oh god, he's so terrifying, but in a beautiful way. And also, whenever he's destroying the jets, I don't know if you catch it, but before he does the barrel roll, did you catch that he kind of has like a grin? Like he kind of has he kind of like, not really a grin, but it, like, you can tell that his facial expression changes right before he does the barrel roll. So there's this like, haha, I know what to do, and then he just does the barrel roll. Like he kind of like squints, and like, I don't know how to explain it, but next time you watch it, just like look at Rodan's face right before he does the barrel roll. I was just like, dude. And the same thing for later, I'll talk about when Godzilla goes full blown, whatever you want to call it, Super Godzilla. There's that shot where he's like, it's of his face, and he grins so hard. Like, it's this whole thing, like, they've added so much expression to the characters, and I'm just like, ugh, Michael Dougherty, you're my guy. It's just like, yeah,
for real.
This is it. Like, this is, everything I've been waiting for. And and hype is a very dangerous thing, because even you texted me before watching it, like, dude, I'm worried. Like, the reviews are just kind of okay, and like, most of the fans were coming out like, oh, I loved it and everything, and I think I went in with too much of that, because like, I came out a little bit underwhelmed the first time, and I love it and love it more every. Like last night when I watched it, I was like, I don't know what I was thinking the first time. This is amazing. Like,
Yeah, like everybody was like went in. How do I say it? Cautiously optimistic, like because they were like, oh, Rotten Tomatoes gave it a bad score, and well, as of recent, I asked my buddy, I was like, how's Dark Phoenix? He's like, about as bad as you would expect. I was like, okay, so they were right there. I was
yeah,
like,
I'm
but they
staying
were
away from Dark Phoenix.
yeah.
I got full blown goosebumps last night when I watched it, and like that. Oh man, whenever they lead Rodan into Ghidorah, which is just an amazing shot because like
Oh yeah.
Monster Zero on the screen, and they're like a hurricane doesn't move that fast, and it's like that is the monster, and like you see it in the distance. They get this wide shot of the storm coming, and like dude, oh, like I can't even. That's probably the best shot in the entire movie.
Oh yeah. You know what? I
Like
forgot all about that until you mentioned the hurricane, and I can see it.
his
Oh.
face is showing up out of nowhere in the lightning, and then you just see him like kind of looming over the whole ship, and his size comparison between like the ship and him, and he does this cool like he flaps his wings and kind of goes further up, and like the eyes are glowing, and it's just like I can't like that shot. I'm gonna try to find like a wallpaper or something for my freaking laptop because it's just like just seeing him like that on that scale, I think is better than any shot we got in. Like him breaking out of the ice was a cool sequence, but like when it comes to like visual candy, like whenever he shows up in front of the ship and you're kind of reminded, oh yeah, he's in this movie still.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, and then Rodan just collides with him, and that fight was like, D-Man pointed it out, like whenever he stretches Rodan's wing to use his lightning from the middle head to just zap him, like you're like, okay, King Ghidorah is the king, and he knew exactly what to do. Like it was literally like, okay, other two heads grab a hold of him, and I'll zap him. Like just little stuff like that they put into this movie, where each monster kind of has its own tactic of how to do stuff. Is like just it kind of gives me the exact same vibe of Pacific Rim when I first watched it, where like all those monsters and all those kaiju have so much personality, and like they all fight in a different way. I think Pacific Rim, up until this movie, I think Pacific Rim. I'll say this: I think Pacific Rim still did it best when it comes to like all the monsters having different ways of doing things and all their personality.
Oh yeah.
Like I think they did amazing in Pacific Rim with that, and also a point I'll get to later. Monster fight, the amount of monster fights in general, Pacific Rim did it better. Like just as a full blown kaiju movie, because it's hard to get. I said it to somebody else. I was like, you can't have Godzilla fighting these monsters for 2 hours straight. Like, it won't work. Maybe one day we'll get a movie like that and it'll be amazing. And maybe one day, like, the way movies are done will just change and we'll get away from, like, all the 100%, like, human aspects of it. And we'll get away from it, like, but you can't have, like, just monster full-blown brawl through the entire thing. And this point in the movie that we're discussing, whenever he falls into the water, and by the way, like, I hate that in the trailer, like Ghidorah about to attack the ship, and then Godzilla comes out of nowhere. That would have been a nice surprise, but of course there was a trailer that showed Godzilla coming out from the right side and just tackling Ghidorah, kind of like, I found you again, and you're going down.
Yeah, like, and you know what makes me think is that, like, they probably put out the trailers and we're seeing what kind of a response everything was getting. And I feel like they were like, we're not really getting the hype that we thought we were going to get. And they're like, well, put more in the trailers and let's just push that. Like, just go. Put whatever you can in. Like, I felt like that was like, they were getting numbers back that they weren't satisfied with, and we're just putting more out to try and boost that. To put butts in seats. Like, that's what they were really pushing to do. And they're like, well, this might be a spoiler, but put it in anyway because people need to be in seats.
Yeah, that really makes sense. What you're saying, like,
Because it didn't start out that way. Like, even with the SDCC trailer, like, it gave me everything I wanted to see,
yeah, that was
but
the
it
best
kept a
trailer, I
lot
think.
of secret. And I was like, I love this. This is great. Make every other trailer this. Do not give me anything. Show me a couple tidbits of the monsters. Past that, no. Don't show me anything. Like, I
I
just want to see
honestly think that
these.
silhouette of Ghidorah,
Yeah.
I think that that's all they needed. I feel
Yeah,
like
really.
because I feel like Ghidorah really probably helped. Like, oh, there's people that aren't fans, like, oh, there's like a three-headed dragon in this movie, and they have no idea. Like, I feel like it helped maybe. Like, oh, I can't wait to watch Godzilla fight that because it's gonna be cool. Like, I, I feel the same way. I feel like they didn't even need to show them colliding in the trailer at the end of that. Now, is that an amazing trailer? Yes. Like almost like trailer 1, 2, and 3 are like just amazing, and like, but honestly, out of all of them, it's like I prefer the SDCE because it's just they could have really just held back, and like TV spots and everything gave so much away, and just for a little insight on for the audience, like Burning, like, I don't know what are they even nicknaming Burning Godzilla in this? Is it just like Super Godzilla or what's the
Fire
actual
Godzilla, I'm
Fire?
pretty
Okay,
sure.
so
Yeah.
Fire Godzilla. So Fire Godzilla, which I mean that's a cool enough name. I told Aaron, I was like, oh man, I hate that I know something to do with red. I was like, I hate that I
Yeah.
know that because the TV spots, like, I don't even think that I saw that through anything. I saw like D-Man talk about the figures having like there was like a figure that had like fire red, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna accept it. That's gonna happen at the end, and that's it. But also the TV spots shouldn't be throwing that in the trailer. They just like the marketing for this movie was when it comes to overdoing like it's one of the worst things, like one of the worst like movies that like have that do it that have done it that way. Like I haven't seen more spoilers for anything than in this movie.
Yeah.
Like I really was like really shocked and really disappointed that like, oh, just fire Godzilla. Let's just release that in TV. Like I think I literally saw a shot of him like the part where he roars out of nowhere as Fire Godzilla, like that's a shot in a TV spot in front of a YouTube video in an ad. I'm just
Yeah.
like, why? Like, I know that that's going to, like, how much more hype is that going to give an ad to, it's a Godzilla movie, like, oh, Fire Godzilla's in it, I'll definitely go see it now. No one's making that decision like that.
Yeah.
Nobody's sitting there like, oh, Godzilla's gonna be like turn red in this movie. Like, let's go. Like, they are if they wanted to watch it, they already got the tickets. They're already planning to go on a specific night. By the time they showed Fire Godzilla, it was already the hype is just. I was just ready to see. It was just to this point of like, I'm sick of all the trailers. I'm sick of everything I'm seeing. I'm just hiding myself away until I go and see this movie.
You want to know something great, though, about Fire Godzilla? And the marketing through the toys was superb. And I'll tell you why. Because they packaged Fire Godzilla with Mothra, who is the only reason Godzilla becomes Fire Godzilla. Because they packaged the toys like that's the fight. And then it's like, it ends up like, no, she needs to be there because that's how he ends up that way. And I was like, oh, like I thought about it after watching the movie. I was like, that's cool. I was like, you wouldn't know that till you've seen the movie. And kids aren't going to know that. But like us adults are going to go, okay, Fire Godzilla happened because of Mothra.
Let's discuss Godzilla himself, because I feel like we haven't really touched on it. And then I think we could talk about some Mothra after that.
Oh, yeah.
I really want to go into some, like, Mothra.
I'm hyper ready for that Mothra.
Godzilla is, I won't say like the best we've ever seen him, but they really brought 2014's version of him and really just like we've already said it a billion times, personality, facial expressions, and like when he shows up and like I told you through text, or I think I send you some voice messages, they literally do the like pan up when he shows up in the snow that I think is an exact trying to be like 2014 when they pan up
the
and
reveal,
all fiery and everything, and the reveal. It's kind of like, well, we've already seen him, but it still was this feeling of just like, oh, like the way they just making him feel so huge. And
Oh, yeah.
also the build up to it too, because Ghidorah kind of stops, and every time Ghidorah stops and Godzilla does something like out of nowhere, it's always been like Ghidorah smells the air, and like it really feels very animalistic, like smells something coming, and he stands
Yeah.
up, and then you already know, dude, you already know when he stands up, like Godzilla's coming, like like this is gonna be like, and the freaking theme kicks in and everything. It's just
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, that part, like when he shows up, and I can't remember.
full
Did you
blown
watch?
chills.
Yeah, did you watch the that scene when they released it before the IMAX for? Can't even remember what movie it was now, but maybe it was before Endgame that they released the IMAX, the 5 minute preview of
Oh no, I
Godzilla.
never did actually.
That music wasn't in there because I watched it
Oh.
on like Vimeo or Daily Motion or something. Somebody linked me to an HD version that I watched, and that music wasn't in there. So watching it, I was like, "Oh no way!" Like when Godzilla shows up and you hear the Ifukube score, I was like, "Oh!" I was like, "This is gonna be awesome."
Yeah, and we get some Showa roar in there when he falls back, when Ghidorah like makes him fall into that hole.
Yeah.
It was like a very light, high pitched, and I think it matches because the Showa roar being a high pitched kind of screech, it made sense because he was like, "Oh no," and he just falls in. And he goes like, he's like this weird like sound. I was like, that's so cool. Oh, and let's go back to the very beginning of the movie where we get the stomping with the legendary logo and everything, and we get a Showa roar in that, and I was blown away by that. Like Doherty was really like, no, we're gonna put some stuff in here that kind of ties back to old movies, and I think that was really beautifully done. I never would have dreamed they would use an old roar while also kind of giving his roar is his normal, just the roar from 2014 pulled into this movie is just got so much more bass to it now. And Doherty, said like, I'm kind of taking what they did in 54, where 54, 84, and 91, and all those roars are like
Very low,
my favorite roars, because I think he just sounds really growling and deep and terrifying. And so they kind of gave that bass. So like whenever he roars and you just see like the, kind of like whenever you, like the special effects were just top notch, because whenever you say something in winter cold weather, you got the what do you call it? I can't even think of it. Like whenever you breathe in the snow.
Oh yeah, when you can see
your
like
breath.
the breath, yeah.
So even that, like when he roars and Ghidorah's flying away, there's like that roar where he's got all the breath coming out of his mouth. Like it just, all the little detail. It's just fantastic, and what a great fight that was at the beginning, but I do feel like, man, they really kept it kind of short. I was like, man, they really just, Ghidorah gets away, and that's kind of it. But it was a really, really good fight, and, like, one moment that really made me happy is something, like, this moment right here that I'm about to say is only something that a fan would dream of having. He shoots his atomic breath. For one, we get the cool build-up. He puts his tail down on the ground. You just start to see each dorsal fin like, like they really added some oomph to the way it builds up.
Oh yeah.
It starts out slow, by the way, and by the time it gets up his back, it's starting to go a lot faster. Just all those little details. He shoots his atomic breath. Ghidorah dodges it and shoots his lightning back. Like that's just something, like. And he gets thrown back onto the ground, and he's still shooting his breath. That took me straight back to Godzilla 2000, whenever he meets the UFO, and it like shoots a beam, and he's being pushed back, but he's still shooting his breath while he's falling over. Like, I never would have dreamed like a part like that would ever be written into a Godzilla movie for America. I'll ask you this: do you feel like, and this is a negative, do you feel like they pulled back in this movie, like as a full-blown monster screen time, and also during the fights not really showing full fights? Because one thing I really love about Pacific Rim was seeing the fight take place. Like, you get the Jaegers punching on kaiju, and it doesn't try to be like, it cuts to the people inside the Jaegers every now and then, but it didn't pull back a whole lot. Pacific Rim is a prime good example of, like, that's a really fun action kaiju film while balancing a great human story. Like, Pacific Rim, I love the human story. It's really underrated, and I feel like it's really good. So, my opinion, and I'll just ask you if it's yours, I feel like as much monster screen time that we got in this movie and more fights, I still feel like it's like this feeling of ashamed a little bit, where it's like, let's not make it about the monsters, let's make it about the people. Because, I mean, we're going to touch on the humans here in a minute, but I feel like they pulled back, dude. Like,
no, I definitely feel that.
At the end of the movie, for a prime example, Godzilla Ghidorah collide, a really good example of a shot like this. The ship pulls down in front of the camera right whenever you're seeing, like, Godzilla and Ghidorah fight in the distance.
Yeah.
I feel like we didn't need from a human perspective, for it to be amazing, because not every shot in, like, Kong Skull Island is like from a human perspective. They just show the fight, dude. Like, the end fight in Kong Skull Island, I love so much. Him against the Skull Crawlers, we get a lot of it, and it's just like they actually show them fighting while cutting back to the humans, but not like in a way of like, oh, they started fighting, now what are the people doing?
Yeah, I just rewatched Skull Island on TNT the other night.
Oh, yeah, I was actually watching it last night just to kind of have, like, a comparison.
Yeah,
it's
and
really good. Like,
yeah,
I love Skull Island.
Kong Skull Island, honestly, if I have to pick a
back and
movie
forth
in the
on which one is better.
MonsterVerse,
Yeah, I'm still
if I have to pick,
forth.
if I have to pick one in the MonsterVerse that is like has its best of both worlds, I'm gonna have to say Kong Skull Island, and not because of anything bad in Godzilla King of the Monsters, because Godzilla King of the Monsters has, yeah, but they have so many monsters in King of the Monsters, which is where I'm like, okay, if they were really gonna like hit hard with those battles, half or 2/3 of the movie would be pure monsters, which I'm fine with. But like, I understand when the production team's like, all right, well, we hired these A-list actors, we got to get them in here somehow. Like, I understand with that, but like Kong Skull Island, you only had the Skull Crawlers and Kong, and I feel like when they did Kong, they were like, well, he's a primate, so he has a lot of emotion to him. We want to showcase all of that. We want to show him doing like everyday things on Skull Island. We want to show him eating an octopus. You know, we want to show him, you know, doing whatever, you know, watching the Aurora Borealis over the island, which like is awesome. Like, don't get me wrong, I love King of the Monsters, but if I have to pick one MonsterVerse movie where it's hit that mark on every level, it's Kong for me. And you know, it's hard for me to say that, but I feel like Kong as a film, I'll put it this way, as a film, it hit every mark that I wanted to see in a monster movie.
Yeah, does Kong Skull Island have some weak spots? Sure, I think some of the characters weren't needed, and so I think that's just a MonsterVerse trend at this point, where some of the characters just suck. Like, yeah. It's just, I think it's just this thing, because I literally am like, Tom Hiddleston, why are you even here? Like, I mean, like, I love Tom Hiddleston, don't get me wrong, Loki is amazing, but like, I don't think that we even needed that character. Like, I don't know. So he's just, I don't know. I don't know how to explain the vibe, but like,
but you know what? I was talking to somebody about this, and I was like, 2019, I love more than 2014. I love aspects of 2014, but 2019, compared to the characters of 2014, I'll be flat out honest. I did not give a shit about Aaron Taylor Johnson's character. I didn't care about Elizabeth Olsen's.
They made the biggest mistake by killing
Cranston.
Cranston. Like, it could have been an awesome father-son adventure movie. Like, it could have been so... Even if you separated the characters, the ones doing something somewhere else, like... Yeah, it's definitely, like... 2019, the human characters are better, but... not by like an extreme extent, and we'll get to that in a second. But like the best character is Serizawa. Like, to me, like, that was Ken Watanabe. Just, I know he's not gonna get like an Oscar for this movie or anything, like nothing too crazy. I mean, he might, I don't know, but like he's a phenomenal actor, and like he's been my favorite since 2014.
Oh yeah, he was my favorite character in 2014 too.
I feel like, and I think I kind of agree with D-Man on this, the oxygen destroyer scene was pretty awesome just to have the oxygen destroyer even in the movie at all.
Oh yeah.
But do you think like it could have been better if like Sarasawa, when he sacrifices himself, do you think like the oxygen destroyer being the reason for like Godzilla's like for the fire, like I don't know. Am I crazy on that? Like, because
No,
we kind of built. I thought, like the movie, you know, even with as much as we saw in the trailers, that actually was a good twist for me that I didn't see coming. Where I thought I knew 100%. Sarazawa has this like oxygen destroyer bomb or something that he's setting, and it's gonna do something special, like. But it was just this missile that the military created instead of a scientist. So it's like this weird, like I feel like the oxygen destroyer was just ever so slightly shoehorned in, just a little bit, like as a device.
No, yeah, because my buddy said the same thing. He's like, the oxygen destroyer kind of seemed sudden to me, but I brought up the point. I was like, well, if you're the U.S. government and you're trying to figure out how to kill 400-foot tall giant monsters, you're not exactly gonna tell the public you have a bomb that completely dissolves away oxygen. Like, so he was like, all right, he's like, I understand that. He's like, you know, that's the nuclear option. That's the nuclear option past the nuclear option because the nuclear option doesn't work. So, so they were like, you know, with Admiral Stenz being like, hey, you need to clear everybody out. We got this weapon. We're going to detonate
if that really
this.
happened, they wouldn't care if Godzilla was in the middle of that. They'd make sure, like, let's get two birds with one stone here. Yeah, and like, and I love, what's his freaking name? Who's Madison Russell's dad? I forgot. I always forget that guy's name
Mark?
in real life.
Oh, yeah, Kyle Chandler.
Okay, yeah, Kyle Chandler character saying like, it's not a bad idea. Like, he's kind of like, you almost feel like he's starting to side with Godzilla because he just saw Godzilla just come out of nowhere to save them from Ghidorah, kind of, whenever honestly it was more of like Godzilla was like, oh, here you are. He just happened to save them. But like, I love that line where even though I love Godzilla, you know, as an audience member, but I'm like, I could see why he would be like, yeah, that's not a bad idea, because for one, you know, back in 2014, he's kind of the reason that his son died and everything, so there's a lot of, like, there's this emotional weight, and I think Godzilla and Kyle Chandler's character, I think their dynamic back and forth, even though it's not a whole lot there to it, you really feel it. Like, I feel like it's really, that part of the movie is really, really well done. Like, for one, and I haven't even talked about it yet, intimidation scene is like,
oh, I love that scene.
Jeez, dude, freaking Godzilla has never
Godzilla interacting with humans like that was awesome. Like you got that taste in 2014. He looks like a freaking
whale, and it's fantastic. The way he swims toward them, and I always wondered in the trailer, his fins lighting up, what the heck is that? Is he sick? What's happened? Because I had all these theories, like, I feel like something's happened between 2014 and this, but actually it was just a simple intimidation display. And by the way, did you notice that the kind of nerdy scientist guy, I forgot his name, but
Dr. Stanton,
consider us very intimidated.
Oh, Cole.
Have you noticed that he's the guy from the Sprint commercials?
Yeah.
That like what, like, why is he in
the
this?
Verizon commercials.
Like, I love him in this movie. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a nice kind of a side character to just have. But man, like, where the heck did he come from? I didn't even know he did movies. Like, it's just weird.
I think one of my favorite spoilers that I was talking to my buddy about was I was like, oh yeah, I was like, you know, it'd be hilarious if we stood out here, like, while we were messing with the Godzilla stand, that we could be like, oh yeah, when Godzilla picks up Mjolnir and fights Ghidorah, and Mothra's like, I knew it! Like, we were like, wouldn't that be great just to, like, fake piss people off going into the movie where they're like, what?
They make him stand up straight in this movie, which I think is amazing, because that's 100% Godzilla to me, when he has, like, this, like, Like, for instance, the scene where Millie Bobby Brown like is about to basically die, and we all knew it was coming too. Ghidorah's like charging up the lightning, and is just about to just, I guess, 3 heads zap her, which would just been just evaporation. And then Godzilla just comes out of nowhere with his atomic breath. From a distance too is what's kind of cool about that. Like, I was just like, man, he like really, because he was just charging in, but him walking in with the military, I think is just one of the best like scenes of Godzilla I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, just the way he looks in the distance coming in, and they get a lot of like shots of his face, and like he's kind of like, oh, I'm back now, and it's just like everything that they did with shots of the monsters and everything is just, it's so good, and it's so Godzilla. Like, just like the small detail for me, fan service for me, of like Godzilla just finally, this version of him standing up kind of straight and having like stature is just fantastic, and they really paid attention to that when making the movie.
Yeah, I mean, like anything Godzilla did on screen felt like Godzilla. Yeah, that's exactly right. It did. It felt like you were watching.
It felt like I was watching a Heisei movie, like not versus King Ghidorah '91. They'll even get like a stomping on Ghidorah scene. That's just like, to me, it feels like, when he stomps on his head. And I kind of predicted, like, we're probably gonna get a shot of like Godzilla stomping on some part of Ghidorah, and we kind of do at the end.
Yeah, did you catch the part where he steps on the neck in the battle? I think it was in Fenway.
I think I'm kind of like, my brain goes straight to whenever he like steps on his like whole, like his like chest, and like just explode, like some explode at the end.
Oh yeah.
Which was like, oh god, that's very painful. Now let's talk about our lady Mothra.
Oh, Mothra, I love her.
Queen of the monsters. I don't think I really truly realized how much of an emotional attachment I had on her until I watched this movie and realized, oh, I get teary-eyed every time she's on. Maybe not teary-eyed for every shot, like when she's glowing and showing where Godzilla is whenever he's wounded or whatever. Like, that was amazing. I love that you can't really see her because she's just shining this huge bright. And by the way, I get full-blown chills thinking about, like, that was her literally giving the humans hope.
Yeah,
that was literally, they were at their weakest part. They thought they lost Godzilla. They thought he has died due to the oxygen destroyer, and she comes in and is purposefully, like, the sun is out, but it's mostly like her just shining her light, because it was like super rainy, and I love that big pulse she gave too. Kind of made all of like the air and the rain kind of wipe away. Like it's just like, she has so much power that I love that they brought to this. They could have easily just made her just generally a giant bug, and like just didn't really treat her with any kind of like mythological, like, what would you even call that? Like, they could have like not added a whole lot of science fiction power to it, but they did. They gave her like actual powers, like her wings pulsing, and she can like do the weird, like, just do a lot of damage with that. And later on with Rodan, like, she held her own. Like, jeez. I never would have thought in my head Mothra is going to be able to beat Rodan in a battle. I never would have thought that, because Rodan's so huge, and their whole air battle was just, so.
I just had a hilarious thought when you were talking about the Mothra with the light, where my mind,
not the lamp meme.
Oh, no. Well, the brother I am become lamp is hilarious. But, like, I was just imagining them doing, like, Mike comes in, he's like, hey, I want a shot of Mothra doing this. And they're like, sorry, boss, it isn't in the budget. And he's like, what can we do? And he's like, we can just replace her with a light source. And he's like, all right, do it. Like, let's just do it. Let's make that an ability. That's canon now, you know?
First of all, like, just jumping straight back to the beginning of the movie, I just adore that we start the movie with Mothra. Like, we
Yeah.
get the flashback scene, but I didn't expect to just be like, oh, we're gonna get to see her larva, like her way she used to look and everything, like, and that is full blown, pretty much how she looks in the old movies as a larva, just kind of color changing and
Yeah.
like it's fantastic. Like I was so blown away, like that. We just get the egg, you know, like the way our characters even get kind of involved in the movie is because she hatches. It kind of just starts with her. But there is kind of a nice break in the movie where you don't see her for a long time. You just see the news of like this giant worm thing has made its way into like just behind the waterfall was like probably the coolest location. Like she just kind of is like, I'm gonna hide, and like. And then become like my full form. Like there was a nice, I'll say this, like there was a nice break between like her doing that and then becoming what she is. Like, and I guess the excuse is just like we don't know like her growth rate, like and why, and it's just a big monster. So it's like, why not make it fast? But I was a little bit like, I kind of more expected very much the end or something, but. It was what it was, and when she's like showing where Godzilla is, I was like, wow. Like just even just down to like she has like a little light pointing like an arrow, like he's down here. Go
somewhere.
Go save my friend or boyfriend or whatever you want to call him. There's so honestly, many memes out there now.
Like whenever she's doing the whale song. Like thing where they're like, oh, it's like a whale call. Yeah, they're communicating. Like I want to like imagine she's like, I'm trying to give them directions and they're not taking it. And he's like, are you kidding me? Like they're literally the only people who can help me. I'll just wait for an underground nuclear explosion to take place naturally.
Every time that this part happens, I get this overwhelming emotional feeling of like where I don't fully cry, like tears don't run down my face, but it's like I'm about to, because her freaking sacrifice is like just it freaking stabs me in my soul every time because Godzilla's just down for the count and you just see like her legs pop up and she's crawling on top of Godzilla and she's just like, it's gonna be okay, I'll save you.
She can barely stay up herself.
I know, and there's that scene that's amazing after she takes down Rodan, like which I thought he was full blown dead. I
thought he was dead too.
I thought he was full blown dead, but I'm so happy that they kept him alive because I think that we'll be seeing him again. But like her just draping herself over that building, just a wide shot of that with her wings hanging down is just gorgeous. Like just stuff like that where it's just like, oh, I never thought I would see that. And plus I'm like wanting to cry because her roar is so kind of small and you can tell she's in pain.
How about all the classic roars of hers that they spliced in?
That was a full blown like old Mothra roar whenever she becomes her full form.
Did you catch it at the beginning? When the larva hatched?
Yeah,
and the place whole shook? Like, you could hear the roar. And I was like, that's awesome. And then they go in and they find the larva had hatched. And they were going in to test the orca.
Her weird little, like, growl when she's angry and stuff was so cool, too. Everything about her was just, like, perfection. Like, and by the way, I've never seen a Mothra that angry. I was just like, oh my god. Like, I was literally terrified of her. I was like, that's just a huge, like, bug that can just eat you. Like, and the fact that she was, like, it showed her kindness because she's like angry, but she also just like webbed everyone to the wall. There's even that part where she takes a guy and you think, oh, she's gonna like eat him, and she just chunks him to the wall where she's already made like a weird like sticky substance, and he just splats under that wall. Did he die from the impact? I don't know, but it's like I feel like it's like I'm so angry, but I'm gonna try to keep these people alive because she has like compassion, I guess. I don't know.
To eat them later.
Yeah, like or it's that where it's like, I'm saving you for dinner, and she just throws like she's
like,
so
I'm
mad.
hungry, but I just ate breakfast, so I'm gonna wait on the wall with you.
But and I loved that. it fully brought back her weird web spray that she has in all the old movies. It's like exactly that. They were just like, okay, we're just gonna bring what she could do before, but give her, like, whenever she's in her full form, like the praying mantis hands and all that. A lot of people hate that, but I feel like
I love it.
I love
honestly.
her. Like, I was really scared because whenever they showed the Monster Arts design, I was like, oh, she's kind of ugly. Like, I will admit, I kind of thought, like, she's just kind of ugly. But in the movie, it works, and she's gorgeous in every shot. Like, they wanted her to be able to hold her own, and to be able to fight Ghidorah, fight Rodan, like their air battle. Like, I didn't even know she had like a stinger. So it was like this reveal whenever she stabs him, like, oh. Like, and
Yeah,
you probably
I was like,
you might have known, just because I don't know if you knew that she could do that before the movie, but you might have known just because you drew all the characters and everything. So
I never once thought that she had a stinger. I was like, oh, it's just a pointy thorax.
I almost feel like it came out like it's kind of like a cat claw or something, where it can like go back in.
Retracts.
I'm not sure, but like, I didn't see it before until she does that, and so I feel like that was like a perfect surprise. Oh, and by the way, Rodan's little, like, he's in pain and dying. Did you catch that?
It's the Muto Creek.
Muto dying. Like, I was like, that's I as soon as it happened, as soon as I heard it come out of him, I was like, that's familiar, and then I immediately connected to, like, Godzilla dragging the Muto over to do the kiss of death. Like, just like, so many callbacks.
And you know what? It's great that they do that, because, like, you look at the old Godzilla movies and they use, like, stock roars for other monsters or stuff like that. And I was like, I like that. That's a nice little nod to that. You know, we had a budget that we were trying to stick with. Like, in the older
Shin
movies,
Godzilla
it's like, budget,
right.
you know, you gotta, yeah.
Whenever they use they use so many old Showa sound effects in Shin, and I was just like, that's a little bit weird. Like, there's something about it was like,
where
not right,
but they sounded
right
growling
here.
like the 84 one. And you know what? Did you see the trailer for that before the movie even came out? Where it was like this long, drawn out, kind of like how they did with 2014, where it was the roar was almost like the whole thing, the whole TV spot, but it was a Shin one, and it was like so low, like it was like a 1954 roar that the bass was
like they completely
so
changed
dropped.
the roar, and I was so disappointed in theaters when we just got the like, like really high pitched. I was like, no, that does not fit his character at all.
And especially with the way he is, like, I expected a deeper roar. Don't get me wrong, I love Shin Godzilla. It's tattooed on my arm. I love Shin Godzilla. Really? Yeah, Shin Godzilla is the one that I have tattooed on me, because I fell in love with that movie. Like, don't get me wrong, it has its problems, but like,
I really like it, but it's just not one of my. It's like, man, there's so many more I would rather watch. Like, I'd rather watch 54 any day over that. Like, it's just, I don't know. So I will transition now into humans and what their role of this movie was. There is so much to go into even in that level. So, like I said earlier, I feel like they pulled back a lot on the fights and stuff to focus on people. They really did bring a King of the Monsters, like, that was human driven. And is that okay? Yes. I loved the dad character. I love Millie Bobby Brown. Her mom, I don't know. I'm still kind of torn on, like, I don't know. I don't really know if I care about the character that much.
I'm not torn. I hate Emma Russell.
Well, and the Alan character, he's really cool, and I love him in Game of Thrones. And, like, which I recently watched an old Game of Thrones episode, and he was in it. I'm like, Godzilla King of the Monsters! Like, I didn't even know. Like, that was me finding out he's even in the show. But anyway, so the first thing I think I'll talk about with the people that I think was a huge mistake, and I want your opinion on it, because I don't think I've talked to you about it with it. What the heck? I can't even speak. Hashtag burp time. So Dr. Graham. I think this was another one of those situations where a character from an original film suddenly dies in a movie, and it just did not. I just did not like that. Like, I didn't like, because I think it would have been better if after Serizawa dies.
No, she just died.
She remains. I feel like if she would have been the one, because the actress that plays her says that she loves being Dr. Graham. She loves the MonsterVerse. She wants to continue, and it's just like kill her off. Like what? Like imagine 2014 right now with them both working together and everything, and think of it like they both end up dying. It's crazy. Like I mean, it's kind of like tying it to like. It kind of killing off characters in Monarch. I can kind of see why. Serizawa's death is amazing. It's perfect. I think it perfectly ties back to 54, and but it's reversed, reviving Godzilla instead of killing him. But Dr. Graham, D-Man said it too, and I think, it's perfect the way he said it. Is that just shouldn't have happened, and, the way she died was kind of neat. I kind of like that it was, Ghidorah just eats her, but I feel like that could have been somebody else.
No, definitely. I feel the same way.
It was just out of nowhere, and a lot of the deaths in this movie is just kind of okay, they died, and there's not and I know there's not a lot of time to reflect. I mean, you do get a Serizawa kind of going to his knees, and he's just oh, that freaking, that sucks. And you kind of get the scene of him crying, over it, and seeing that she's deceased. It's like the movie's confirming, by the way, with the audience. Yeah, that's who that was, by the way, because the way that shot, whenever Ghidorah eats her. See. It really was I don't know what just happened. Did Dr. Graham just get eaten? And then whenever it pops up she's deceased later in the movie, I'm oh crap.
She's dead. Yeah.
That sucked, dude. That I feel like they built her character up too much to just do that. I feel like she definitely should have remained. What's your look on that?
Oh, hashtag Mecha Dr. Graham for Godzilla vs. Kong. She comes back as an android or something. But no, out of all the deaths in the movie, hers was I was what? I was I watched, I forget whose review I watched. I think maybe it was Chris Stuckman's, but I watched it before watching Godzilla King of the Monsters, and it wasn't his spoiler one. But he was talking about, they kill off people in this movie left and right. And I was okay. I was I'm all right with that. They're disposable, whatever. And then when Dr. Graham died, I was all right. All right. And then I was
all right.
But why? Yeah, I was but why? I'm why? Her dying doesn't, do much it doesn't do much to further the plot. It's just she died.
I cannot wait, by the way, for the Blu-ray, because Michael Dougherty is probably going to have a commentary, so I cannot wait to watch him talk. And I just want to know, maybe he can turn me around with certain decisions and stuff like that he made, but that was probably, to me, out of all the people and all the negatives and positives of the people aspect of this movie, that was, to me, the bottom of the barrel, worst decision. That felt so much like how just killing off Bryan Cranston, it felt just like that, where it's this is such a great character, and you're just taking her away from us so easily. I know Ghidorah is a big dragon that can, eat people and, do all this, but, it could have been somebody else.
No, definitely. It really could have, but, she didn't...
She didn't have a really big role in the MonsterVerse, really that much at all. So if it was she doesn't have a big enough role.
Yeah, she started being into it, in the third act of Godzilla 2014 and into the beginning of this movie, where I was okay, yeah, she's playing a bigger role. This is Serizawa and Graham, excuse me, how we've never seen them before, where it was okay, they're really a part of this, and they're in depth. She's talking about blah blah blah, Serizawa's talking about blah blah blah. And I was all right, I like these characters a lot more in this movie.
You really can feel their chemistry, they've worked together, and honestly, I've always kind of had this little thing in the back of my head, and then I don't think they've ever made it clear that they're in a relationship. I don't know, I don't think that part of it's full blown,
strictly professional.
It didn't work because it just felt like exactly how other movies have done it, where all of a sudden one of the main characters in a sequel dies, kind of like G.I. Joe, where Channing Tatum's what the heck? Channing Tatum's character just straight up gets killed. I was that felt very, very weird. It was just
and you know what? I thought for certain that he wasn't dead. I was oh, he's gonna come back at the end, and then I was
Oh no, they kept him
Okay.
dead. You know, I was
Yeah,
like,
I was like,
come
that's
on.
so weird. I was like, why would they do that? Like, when you have a character, when you have a staple character, Duke, who's the leader of G.I. Joe, like, and you kill him off in the second movie, it's like, what?
Serizawa is like, man, what a great character. Like, just giving him the same name of the original guy, it kind of like, it all is kind of building to this. Would I have wanted him to, like I said,
I loved what he
survive
did.
and maybe survive through Kong versus Godzilla? But like, it made so much sense in the whole scene where he goes underwater and like, and just, he's just like, I love his just, there's no time for debate. I'm doing this. And it's almost like it was kind of his destiny to save Godzilla, because in the end, he did something that saved literally everyone, because Godzilla, they even say this could take years for him to replenish and heal up, which by the way, just, they add so much weight to, like, it's not, the word isn't weight, it's just a lot of cool science fiction stuff in this movie that we really haven't seen in Godzilla movies that much, like just his radioactivity making plants grow in cities. Like, for instance, like, we haven't really seen it really, but San Francisco is like completely overgrown or something right now and pretty much just evacuated. I don't really know if they're even rebuilding that city or whatever, but
Probably not.
like,
It's overgrown now.
because radioactivity, you know. It's like, I love that we gave Godzilla a home in this movie, because like, you always kind of wonder, where is his home base? Like, where does he go to, like,
The Batcave.
rest up? I'm gonna rest up. Like, yeah, in a way, it's like an underwater bat cave, because it was so
Yeah, and that's what
fancy.
Doherty said. He was like, he's like, Batman has that, Superman
and it makes
has
sense that he has a home, just because there was the whole theory of, like, he goes underwater and goes through all these tunnels. There's even a scene where they lose him, because whenever after the intimidation display, he gets away from them because he uses the underwater tunnels. Do we see it? No, but you feel it, because it's from the human's perspective, so you don't witness a whole lot, which is obviously one of my problems with the movie, where they could have just cut back to more monsters. Yeah, his sacrifice was perfect. Like, the way they shoot it.
And honestly, like, watching it, I said to my buddy, I was like, did you notice the parallel? And he goes, with what? I said, Daisuke Serizawa dies in 1954, gets in a diving suit, leaves the ship.
Yeah, he literally kind of looked like the same suit and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I said he takes a case, opens the case, takes the oxygen destroyer out. He and Ogata go down there, find Godzilla, and detonate the bomb. I was like, and Daisuke Serizawa dies saving the world from Godzilla. I was like, in this movie, Ichiro Serizawa goes down in a diving suit with a case, with a device set to save the world by saving Godzilla. And I was like, I just love the parallel that Doherty did with that, where he knew.
They meant to do that. I don't think 2014, maybe Gareth Edwards, if he would have done this one, I don't know if he would have treated it the same way. He might have even kept Serizawa alive. But I love that it's almost like they gave him the name Serizawa just to end up doing this in this movie, which I think is just the best part of the whole movie, human-wise, is this. It is, honestly, this, in my opinion.
That was probably the most emotionally impactful scenes for me, was when he takes off, he sets the timer, walks up to Godzilla, and puts his hand on him and says...
And that was a real wall that they built to look like Godzilla's skin.
With the scales.
Like, oh my god, yes. Like,
but like, when he puts his hand on his nose and you see Godzilla's eyes open a little bit more...
he looks at him.
Like, he recognizes...
Goodbye, old friend.
Yeah, when he says that, oh... Saraba Tomio. I was like, oh my god, and then it blows up.
I'm getting chills now thinking about it. I can't even help it. Like,
that scene was probably the best, one of the best in the whole, best human character scene interaction.
A lot of people hate that guy with the glasses, the older guy, but hey, I love when he said, I love the character, and so screw everybody else. Like, I love this character, and I love when he says, Serizawa's got that lizard juiced up. I was like, you kind of feel that. It's like, I totally can believe like Godzilla is just like this was Godzilla's energy drink. He was just like
Yeah.
like whenever he got that bomb, he was chugged with it, and it's just, I think it's just so cool, like I said, that Godzilla's resting up. You actually can see the radiation like coming off of his fins, like just that kind of thing. Just it's like he also looked like he was in a freaking like hot tub or something, because that whole area is like in a weird air pocket. Because I always wondered in the trailers, where the heck is that when he goes on the steps and everything? I almost thought, is that like underwater? But it actually was like not. It was, but it
was
leads
in an
to
air
a place.
pocket. Yeah.
By the way, they destroyed his home.
Sacrifices have to be made in the apocalypse, unfortunately.
Like all of that wall art and all of that predicting the future and all this stuff, that whoever put all that on the wall, like I'd have to do but all of that's just gone. There's no real proof anymore. I guess the proof is the monsters themselves, but
and I get it. Like, I get it. Like, they were like, listen, this is great and everything. We found all these ancient ruins and everything, but it's like sacrifices have to be made in order to save the rest of the world. Like, and I was like, because I even said the first time through, I was like, oh, they destroyed Godzilla's home. But I was like, if I was in that situation, I'd be like, listen, I'm sorry, buddy, but I gotta blow up your home because we gotta have you save us.
And I love that he's always kind of been the key to all of it, and he's the hero just because Godzilla himself, because Godzilla, it's not like it's just this weird plot where Godzilla's got to be the one. Godzilla, Serizawa always believed that, but you always kind of felt like, yeah, but Serizawa, what are you basing that off of? You know what I mean? Like, but I feel it because they witnessed Godzilla save them so many times that it is kind of believable, like, this one monster out of everyone rising up. Like, it always made me feel like, it always made me question, like, why is he, like, even though it's a Godzilla movie, obviously we know, like, he is the key, because that's how it's been through a lot of other movies, where he's the one that can bring balance. But in a grounded, real-life-ish movie, it's like, why? But I feel like it's been answered. Like, he's saved them so many times, and just peacefully left without doing any, like, just like, I'm not gonna kill any of you, I'm just gonna go and just live. And you feel that. Like, I feel the weight of it. I feel the weight of Serizawa sacrificing one of the best sacrifices just in just cinema in general, and kaiju movies all around, whatever. Just, and Michael Dougherty said it perfectly. If you have a great character like, Ken Watanabe's like character here, like, if you have a character like this, you kind of need to kill him off, because, like, if you don't want him to die, then that means you're emotionally invested, so he should die. And so, like I said, the sadness of, like, he's not going to be in the next movie is really there, and it really remains, and it's like his presence will be in this MonsterVerse forever, and he's the reason that Godzilla stands a winner by the end, because he would have just given up for however many years, because they say, he's resting up for, this could take years. Like, it's crazy. Like, it's kind of a scary thought. Like, well, Ghidorah could have literally took over the world. Like, it's terrifying. Like, and you feel all of that weight.
Oh, definitely. I mean, like, Ghidorah was going to end the world if Godzilla hadn't come back.
Oh, and let's also, real quick, the volcano scene. Like, I think we kind of skipped over that earlier. Rodan bowing to Ghidorah, I think, because at first I really thought Rodan's dead. I really kind of thought he killed Rodan, and the whole volcano scene was the only Rodan we'll ever get. I was so scared of that, and then you see on the screen, like, Ghidorah's, like, kind of call to arms roar, which was amazing, and I love that they inserted the scenes of all the monsters rising up. Like, it was really, like, wow. And you even hear Ghidorah's echoed roar over a lot of the scenes of the monsters
halfway across the world, yeah. In Munich, Germany, of all places.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a weird part of the movie where, like, could they really hear, even though there's these giant monsters that probably have way better, like hearing than dogs or anything. Could they really hear? I don't know, but it's a science fiction movie, so it's a level. There's a level of acceptance, and I think that's a problem with a lot of people with these movies. It's like they just think too much about it. It's like you just kind of gotta accept like. What the heck is Ghidorah anyway? Well, they explain it. He's a freaking alien, so you have no business wondering.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, oh man. And the regeneration. I forgot all about that. Freaking Godzilla rips the head off. And by the way, that whenever Godzilla does that in the water, I'll say this. That was so cool. That was so cool, but I'll give this a but. That's probably the worst CGI in the entire film because like it looked really really weird when they were underwater. I know that was probably really really hard to do, but that was that was one moment in the movie that I was like that kind of looks more like a video game. So what did you think about the Mothra twins being in this?
So I was going to bring that up. I love how there's the article that's like the biggest Easter egg of Godzilla King of the Monsters, and no one noticed. I was like, first off, show me the paper that you're legally blind if you missed that. Second off, I was like, it was blatant, extremely blatant that the twins were mentioned.
It definitely was, but I will say this, whenever Mothra is becoming her full form, and then there's that reveal of that lady pulling her hood
Dr.
off,
Ling.
and it's her. I will admit, first time watching it, I actually did kind of think that was just the same woman, and she just went to the other location. I didn't catch it, and I think it was the second time. Then I'm like, oh duh! Like I felt really stupid. I was like, duh, that's a freaking Mothra twin. I love. Because here's the thing with the Mothra twins. If they would have done a literal like little girls on a table, it just wouldn't have grounded it that well. Like it for Toho, I think it works way better. But for this, I was really worried. I was like, is there even gonna be Mothra twins? And I actually was under the assumption like probably not. They're probably just gonna have Mothra be this mythical like creature, but just not have the Mothra twins attached, and I love that they still pulled it off. They still inserted the Mothra twins, but just as human beings, and I love the
third generation monarch.
Yeah, and I love that it's this weird like every child, all the daughters that they've had have just been generation after generation of twins. Like it's just this cool like it ties back, and there's like possibility of like telepathic like being able to, because like you see her like close her eyes whenever Mothra comes in at the last battle, and I was just like, okay, I think she kind of sensed that, and so there's a little bit of science fiction kind of being mixed into the MonsterVerse, which it's science fiction already with all the monsters, but there's a little bit of like kind of, I don't know what you would call it. The word's not magic, it's just like
a mythology or something like that.
Yeah, like it's very cool. And also I paid attention this time whenever Godzilla's pulsing his like the fire, like the big whatever you call it. I did actually catch the Mothra wings this time, and I didn't.
Did you hear her roar too?
Yeah, I kind of did. I was like, when I'm trying to pay attention to it, then I noticed it. The general audience member isn't probably going to notice that, but I definitely did not until this time. I was like, man, it took me so many tries, but I finally, like, someone had to point out that it's like Mothra was freaking with him, and that's just, it gets my heart. But yeah, the Mothra twins was beautifully done. Like, I can't wait to just see what they do next. Like, I feel like Mothra's going to be introduced. The new egg, it's almost guaranteed. I would say 99% probably guaranteed that in Kong vs. Godzilla, we'll probably get Mothra making a cameo.
Oh,
because, she's... her growth rate and everything, she's probably going to hatch, because at the end of the credits, they show that, like, there's another Mothra egg or whatever. It's just insane.
I was perfectly okay with what they did with them, but, like, the articles that came up after, I was just like, I just don't get it. Like, how did no one notice the twins? Like, especially when she pulls up the pictures of, like, her mom, her grandmothers, like... her grandmother and her great aunt, like she pulls up all these twins, and I'm like, oh oh yeah, Mothra twins, cool. Like their family definitely has a connection to Mothra. And Mike Doherty even tweeted out because somebody said, "Oh, they're all wearing the same necklaces in that family photo," and he tweeted out a picture. He says they're chrysalis pendants, and I was like, "Oh," I was like, so her family definitely has a connection to this Titan, like some ancient connection.
I said this through you through text. Way too many characters in this movie. Like, I feel like if they,
Oh yeah,
I feel like, Monarch as, like, a team, I really like the team that they have. Like, all the main people, like, Millie Bobby Brown, like, her father with the sprint guy and the old dude with the glasses, like, they're, like, little team, and Sarasawa, like, their little team is, like, so, I love it, and I love if they come back. Like, I love it, but I feel like if we would have spent more, if they would have took away a few of the characters and just followed just this small kind of group of characters, we could have got attached to way more, trying to balancing monster screen time and the people, because that was one of the main things I wanted to say about, like, when we got to the human part of this review, is there's just that one of my biggest issues with this movie is there's just too many characters. Like, but it's, like, weird because I really like all these characters. The main, like, team that we get, the main cast.
mm-hmm.
I love them, but I'm also like, I think the movie would just work better with less people in this. I just think it would. Like, I don't know.
No, I get you. There's a lot to cover in that amount of time with how many characters you have, and some of the characters worked fine. Some of them, they're just like, it's like, why are you here for this?
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to be here.
Millie Bobby Brown was a great character, and I love her in it, but there was this feeling throughout the movie when we cut back to her even existing. I'm like, oh yeah. I forget that she's, like, it's just, like, I want her to be more of a main character, but they're kind of, is it like, well, it's like they were just building up Millie Bobby Brown to just be the way that Ghidorah comes to Boston. That's literally it. She was kind of a plot device.
Yeah.
For Godzilla to show up and everything. As for plot, it works, but I'm also just like, I don't know. But her mom's worse, way worse. And by the way, D-Man pointed this out, and I never even, this is how much I did not care about her mom in this movie. Long live the king, that part. And we get the big Fire Godzilla reveal, which was just cinematic masterpiece. Like, it's just like, that's so awesome. And the way, like, everything burns as he's walking because everything's so hot. They don't even acknowledge that she burns.
No. There's not even a second thought.
There's not even a scene of, like, showing maybe just her hand or something, just going, like, frying it. Like, I feel like they could have got away with that. It's PG-13. Like, it's not like you had to show her literally rot like freaking Indiana Jones. Like,
O'Shea Jackson Jr. threw his F-bomb out, so, I mean...
Yeah, I know.
we got that.
And that was probably the perfect moment to say that.
And he was the perfect character to say it.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Like, because you see these three heads come out of the ice, you'd be dropping some F-bombs too. Like, because you're thinking, one monster, oh, there's two? Oh, God, there's a third one. Like, you would probably assume that's three dragons. So her redemption was pretty cool, and she's the reason that, like, she gets Ghidorah away from everybody. But like I said, just that little thing where you just forget about her. She says, "Long live the king," and that's the last time we see her. And then when I realized, I never even had the thought, Aaron, like, oh, like, where did she go?
That's the last time. She's dead.
I know, but I didn't even have the thought. You're just overwhelmed with, like, this battle's just so cool. That's just one of the problems with this movie is, like, the humans just sometimes get left in the dust. The Jackson, like, that guy, like, a lot of stuff like that with him where, like, I wanted him more in the movie, but he was kind of, like, pulled back. And, like, yeah, she just burns away, but they didn't tell us
They didn't show it, yeah. Yeah, like, my buddy,
they had no way to even tell us, like, they didn't even try, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like they didn't even try to tell us she burned away. It was just like the movie just forgot she exists.
Yeah, because my buddy, when we were watching it, Godzilla does the two pulses, and he's like, she's dead. And then he does the final nuclear pulse where it literally goes nuclear and like creates a crater. And he goes, now she's definitely dead. And I was like, yeah, she's
And they
gone.
better not pull nothing like, the reason they didn't show her die is because she actually ran away and got away. I mean, I would not be surprised if that happened because I feel like she had enough time to really
I'm hoping
freaking
that
haul
she's
it.
dead.
But I'm hoping it's just like, yeah, she fried and that's it. I'm just saying the movie
Considering
just
she was the
didn't tell
one
us correctly.
No, yeah, but considering she's the one who actually let these things free, I was like, if she's not dead, then I'm going to be upset.
Kong versus Godzilla, I think, needs to have at least one daytime fight to just... Because look at Kong Skull Island. It had daytime in it. Like, the first time you see Kong is full-blown daytime, showing the monster immediately. Like, is perfect. Like, and so, yeah, more daytime in the next movie is what I really want. And also, I'll just touch on this really fast, way more building destruction, because I already talked to you about this. One of my favorite moments is, Mothra tying Ghidorah's heads to the building, and then Ghidorah's
seeing the reflection.
Seeing the reflection, and then you just get that wide shot of Godzilla just tackling him into the building. It was like one of the coolest moments, and we didn't really see a whole lot of that for the rest of the movie. It was just, all this area is already destroyed, and their previous fight was in the ocean, and the previous fight before that was in an open ice area with like no buildings really. Like, I think we need more of that, and one of the things that 2014 did perfectly was, like, at the end we got plenty of creatures tackling other creatures into buildings, and like getting that Godzilla effect of like there's gonna be some destruction. But most of the fights in this movie happen in an open area. Besides that one building, there's not a lot. And there's another part that I noticed this time. Ghidorah comes back down after dropping Godzilla from the sky. He wipes out two buildings with his wings because he just doesn't care. He falls onto these two buildings and they just collapse. And that's one of the best visuals ever. But there's just not a lot of fighting with buildings. Like,
yeah.
And so... that's just some of my complaints, but a lot of those complaints are just so nitpicky. It's just like, because mostly every fight that I watched is just fantastic. Like, I'm just, like, the only problem with me is just the ending Ghidorah fight should have had just showing them fight for, like, even if one little moment has them fighting, like, just show it for way more time, like, a lot more, like, 10 more seconds. It's like of each shot would just like, because you don't really visually see a whole lot of what each monster does to the other, because you just get these shots of like, okay, they're fighting in the distance, or you see like Millie Bobby Brown running towards her house and a car goes flipping through the air because Rodan and Mothra are going at it. Like, you don't really see, a lot, and that's one of my issues with the movie is just like, just show more. It's just like, I just actually want to see a visual fight, which I hope that because the Kong vs. Godzilla is a new director, I really hope he brings it with like Kong fighting Godzilla. Like, just, you can cut back to the humans because we need good human story, but just show me Kong bashing on Godzilla's head for more than just a split second, and then cut back to something else, and then cut back to the fight for like 2 second shot, and then cut back again. It just gets kind of annoying. Like,
yeah, I agree with it. What you said about the Argo showing up, like as Godzilla and Ghidorah clashed, I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I kind of wanted to watch a couple more minutes of that, Like it's like somebody walking in front of the TV and just standing there having a conversation with you. You're like, I was watching that. Like, I don't care that the Argo's here right now. Like,
yeah, I know.
Like unless you're doing something interesting, I don't really care. But I mean, like, everything was serviceable. As far as characters go, I think they were better than the 2014 one because, like I said, I did not care about what happened to anybody in that movie. Like, with the exception of, like, Serizawa and Graham. but like I did not care in the 2014 movie. In this movie, I actually liked the characters. It was emotionally impactful when Serizawa died. Graham, not so much, but like Mark was a decent character. Couple of the things that I would say didn't make much sense to me. Oh, and I'll say this too. As far as the writing goes for the characters, the first time I watched Pacific Rim, I was taking a couple film classes at school, and I was kind of like in that nitpicky, critical type of sense. And like some of the stuff in Pacific Rim, like it coming from a writing perspective, some of the dialogue was really clunky. It didn't work all that well, like certain things characters were saying. And like I even did that with the Godzilla 2014 one where I was like, okay, it was like that, like cake every night just makes no sense and it just sounds stupid. But like watching it, I was like, all right, this is dumb. Like this dialogue sucks. Like, but in this movie, I was watching it and even going back and seeing it a second time, I was like, you know what? I was like, none of this dialogue hit me.
Dialogue, it's not bad.
No, any of this dialogue didn't hit me as like, oh, that sounds awful. Like nobody would say that.
Okay, all right. The only one that I didn't like is just like, so let them fight action. I love when Serizawa used to say that. That was like, that's just literally taking the scene from 2014 and making fun of it. Like, that's shoehorning it, because why would Serizawa say let them fight again at another time that we didn't see? It just makes no sense. That was the only moment that I was like, this sucks, and a lot of people are giving way too much crap to that character because...
No, Rick is cool. Like, I like Rick. Because he was in Billy Madison. He was the bad guy in Billy Madison.
The bowing to the king scene is just something I never thought I would see, and like it gives me total goosebumps, like, and I get kind of teary-eyed because like he gets that like that shot in the trailer where he looks directly into the camera and kind of like just snorts. Like, I'm just like, this is just, I don't know, something about it and the score that's in that moment. And we'll talk about the music to kind of finish off the review, but that is just so beautifully done, and that roar at the end with the wide shot is like just, that's wallpaper worthy.
Oh, yeah.
Just like it definitely is. But what did you think that was a little too much, or did you like it just because like being a fan of like, you know, Godzilla is the king and like he deserves to have the recognition from everybody else? What did you think about it?
It was interesting to me because we've never seen something like that. We've never seen these animals bow down to a king before. But, you know, as you know, like with the wolves or something like that, like not to sound like Mark Russell, but when wolves have an alpha, if the alpha, you know, like growls at them or like does something, like they will kneel like before them because that's the one who's higher than them and they submit to them. So, like, when they all do that to Godzilla, I was like I was imagining they converge on Boston because Ghidorah is still willing them to come to Boston. And when they find out Ghidorah's dead, they're like, oh, he's our new king. I absolutely love, too, that, like, the memes of Rodan were like, he's just like, I'll fight anybody. I'll fight you. I'll fight you. And I loved how that's how he actually was in the movie, where he was literally just like, I will pick a fight with anybody who will fight me.
The score, man. Let's just touch on that real quick when we wrap it up. What do you want to say about it?
Bear McCreary has done what I never thought could be possible with a Godzilla, an American Godzilla franchise.
Yeah, remastering the songs, but also making them kind of different. They have much different. There's like there's some flair that he adds to it.
Oh yeah, like I was like everything that he did, and like on Twitter, I would like at him or like comment on something, and he like I thought it was cool because he would actually like the things that I was saying about it. Like, but there are things that I picked up on like listening to the score, where like in the track Rebirth, after they bring Godzilla back, there's a little bit of the motif from Requiem from Godzilla vs. Destroya at the very end. And he liked that comment, and I was like, he did do that on purpose. I was like, he did add that in just as that little bit of sprinkling it in like only true fans will see this, like
Yeah.
that type of stuff. And I mean, he put a lot of stuff in where I was like, I was listening to Ghidorah's theme, and I was like, okay, it's not traditional Ghidorah's theme, but it is there. Like, it was groundwork. You could tell that it was groundwork. Like the Ifukube Ghidorah theme was definitely, it was inspired by that. You could definitely feel that in Ghidorah's theme. Mothra's song is probably one of my favorite tracks on the entire album.
Yeah,
I just love that. It's so powerful, and especially at the end. And of course, Godzilla's theme. I mean,
it's like just like the
battle
slow
in
dun,
Boston.
dun, dun, dun,
Yeah,
and they just kind of goes, it stops, and then dun dun dun. When he's coming out of the water, it really did amazing job on that part. Which, by the way, real quick, what's your theory on Godzilla floating on top of the water? Everyone's bashing that, and what I've been saying to other people is like, look, he's been doing that the entire franchise. It's not even like he's just been floating, and there's kind of this whole thing of like, is he standing on the bottom of the water? Like, no, but I don't think it's too far fetched that he could float on top of that. I mean, he's kind of like it's like when a whale wants to come up on top of the water, it can do it. So I mean,
yeah.
Like, I feel like it makes sense, but that's just a real quick thing I want to touch on. Like,
no,
what do you think? Because people are bashing just even that. Like, this doesn't make sense. It's like, look, he's been floating on top the entire franchise and destroying things with his atomic breath.
I even said in a thing where somebody said it was on Facebook or something where they posted that, and I was like, listen, if you want to nitpick, you're going to have to nitpick the entire franchise, because that's what happens.
Rodan's theme, I think that might be, aside from Mothra and Godzilla, like, it's just got that sound to it that sounds like it's aerial in itself. It sounds very kind of, it's got like a screech to it.
Angry bird bongos.
It's very like when he first comes in to attack Mothra at the end battle, I'm like, yep, that's Rodan's theme. Is like every time a monster comes back into the battle, it's like it hits that theme right on cue. Whoever just edited like when the music comes in and everything, even down to just Godzilla putting his head down when he's floating on top of the water. Like, just floating. Like, there's that little I can't even think of it right now. I will be kind of surprised though that they would go straight to like Destroya over like Gigan or somebody like that. I mean, the Godzilla vs. Destroya is a very good movie, and I love it, but it's also the Biollante thing where I want to see Biollante in the MonsterVerse so much. Like, I think it makes sense. Plants, you could even tie it in with the radiation that's being caused around the world and the cities being overgrown with plants. You could somehow tie Biollante into that.
Oh, definitely.
But she was only in one movie, so it's this whole thing where it's like popularity and what's gonna work. Destroya, the same thing. He's only in one movie, so I would be very shocked if they did do it, but I will give the benefit of the doubt that they have this opportunity now, plot-wise, to bring Destroya into. And do I want to see him, like, what he would look like, Americanized? Heck yeah. Like, he'd look freaking... And, like, you could tie it perfectly with Ghidorah, because Ghidorah has wings. He kind of has, like, the horns... Like, see, you could totally make it like a hybrid of Ghidorah, but turn it into Destroya.
It'd be awesome. I call it
Destroya.
Destroya, yeah. You know what would be awesome is if, like, I had this idea for the scene, if that's what were to happen. Like, let's say they go, all right, well, it needs a heart to jumpstart its process to regenerate. So, like, let's say they, like, hook it up through diodes and it starts to regenerate, but the DNA that they used from the Titan that they needed to regenerate it with is like some kind of different kaiju, and it like the DNA from that mixes with Ghidorah, then whatever mutation happened with the oxygen destroyer stunts its growth, so like it comes out looking deformed, but still like a devilish type of creature. And I want like it to grow and Jonah to walk out and like stare it in the eyes as it's waking up and just have him say, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." And don't give it a name. Just say that line and have that destroyer of worlds.
Heck yeah,
because
dude.
that's what he wants is destroyer. And that is what they would, yeah, like honestly, that scene alone, would I be like, the MonsterVerse is the greatest franchise of all time, change my mind? Like, that's how it would be.
Yeah, like, definitely. And, you know, just to touch on this real quick, Godzilla vs. Kong, if they do team up to fight something like Destroy at the end, man, like,
that would be tough.
my whole body would just be like, I don't know what to even do with my hands. Like, and I feel like it's just fine that this MonsterVerse is not being built up over 10 years. You would think like Kong and Godzilla would take place many years from now, but I don't think we need it. I feel like everything that they've built and each movie going into each film has done a beautiful job of leading into each movie without just literally only to lead into the movie. Because King of the Monsters sits as its own film that works. Even if there wasn't a movie after it, it would still work. But the fact that it does lead into Godzilla vs. Kong is like perfection. It just is.
So, I just came across something here about Godzilla vs. Kong potentially being pushed back to later in the year.
No.
Because the CEO of Legendary says that they may push it back. It might come out later in the year so we can deliver an A-plus movie, is what the quote is.
Oh, my soul.
So, oh my God. Warner Brothers Studio Chairman Toby Emmerich. Wait a minute. Brother of Roland Emmerich? Now I'm getting bad vibes.
But anyway, guys, I would like to thank Aaron for coming on here and doing this full-blown breakdown of Godzilla King of the Monsters. If you haven't seen it, then holy crap, you shouldn't have been listening to this, because we just spoiled the entire thing. But I'd like to thank Aaron for coming on, and I want him to just go ahead and plug everything that you do.
You guys can follow me at the Twitter handle at KaijuGroupie84 on Twitter. Art of Aaron DeWyer on Facebook. You can follow the company that I am under at Jabberjaw Studios Inc. on Facebook or at Aaron DeWyer Art on Instagram.
And give Aaron some money, buy some art.
I got plenty of prints. But
he's doing panels and everything, man.
The Godzilla vs. Kong ones are going quick, so if you guys want Godzilla vs. Kongs, you guys got to hit me up quick.
How are those King of the Monsters shirts coming along? Are you still putting those?
I still have a couple of sizes of those. I'm thinking of doing a giveaway for those.
Sweet.
Since they printed up a couple of them at work, I'm thinking that I'm going to do a giveaway of those. You know, I did a giveaway at the theater with those shirts, and like a mom came in with her two daughters, and they both went like ballistic as soon as they saw them. And I was like, hey, I got youth larges. I was like, what size are you guys? And they're like, youth larges. I was like, here you go. And they like immediately ran off to the bathroom to go put them on.
That's awesome, dude. Like,
and then they came out. They're like jumping around. They're like, I can't wait to watch this. I was like, that's awesome.
It's awesome, dude. It's awesome that we got more, the MonsterVerse is a beautiful thing right now to expose more fans, and, even if all these people have been fans for a while, it's just great to meet other fans. And hey, if it wasn't for Godzilla in general, I wouldn't have met you. You know what I mean? Man. It's like this thing where it's like it's all linked up. I'm a part of a Godzilla group on Facebook. Like, I'm an admin on there, and like people are just that. I feel like that's like a family for me. Like, I felt their presence with me watching this movie every time I've seen it. Like, it's just amazing, and it's a great franchise. So if any of you haven't gotten into this franchise, I would definitely check it out and give it a revisit. Go watch the original movie or whatever. Just enjoy, because Godzilla's like for everybody. There's so many different genres in it, like so many different just different points of view, like different movies, because it's not all just the same thing. But any final words from Aaron?
We honestly should have started this thing where it was just us saying, "Do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Savior Godzilla?" Because
Oh
that's
my
pretty much it.
Godzilla. It used to be a
Oh my
hashtag I used all
Godzilla!
the time. Like when something really blew my mind in 2014, I think I said something like, "Oh my Godzilla," this scene.
Oh,
But
I mean, there's so much. There's so much more we could talk about, but there's just not enough time in
there's
the.
not.
You know, I would just say, support all the people who made this movie happen. Hell, I'll plug Michael Dougherty, Alan Maxon, T.J. Storm, Richard Dorton, Jason Lyles.
Yeah, thank
All
you for this movie, by the
yeah,
way.
all
Thank you
these
so
guys
much
who
for
made
this
this
fan service.
work. I've talked to Alan a couple of times, and he is like
Nice.
he's a genuine article. I mean, the guy is all those guys are just the greatest. They enjoy what they do. They wanted to give the fans exactly what we wanted, and they did not disappoint. And Mike Dougherty, I know he's been like over the past couple of days been answering fans' questions through tweets, and I was just
Yeah,
like,
follow
this
Mike
is
Doherty
amazing.
at Mike_Doherty. I always get that wrong, but I always forget there's an underscore. And but yeah, like he's what he did, great direct. I didn't see any of his movies before this, by the way. So
I saw Trick or Treat.
but what he did with this movie, I'll just say like I think he's a top notch director. And I can't wait if he wants to do a Godzilla series live act. He said that's just a random idea. I need that to happen. The MonsterVerse deserves to continue, other than the movies, in my opinion. I think it could really work. And so I hope stuff like that happens. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Follow Aaron on Twitter, and we'll have all of that information in the description. And go check out some of his art. And you guys will be seeing us in the next one. Well, actually just me, but, I'll have Aaron on the show at some point in the future, I'm sure. Trav out, and peace out.